Hi, I'm Tanvi and this channel is Mad Batter by Tanvi. Today we're going to talk about a 5 ingredient sponge which is completely foolproof. Okay, so let's get started. So here we have the 5 basic ingredients that we need to make the sponge. We have 150 grams of flour. We have 175 grams of breakfast sugar. This is slightly slimmer sugar than the sugar that we use for our tea. Then we have 2 teaspoons plus 1 by 4 teaspoons of baking powder. We have 3 eggs and we have 175 grams of butter. Now the butter is going to be melted a little bit because it's 9 degrees in Delhi today. Depending on your temperature, we basically want to use room temperature butter, and by room temperature I mean 24 to 25 degrees. So now that you know the 5 ingredients that we're going to use for this batter and your batter is about to be ready, don't you want to know the 3 tricks that will make this cake absolutely foolproof? So keep watching to know more. Here I have my stand mixer and we're going to start by mixing the butter and sugar together. If you don't have a stand mixer at home, you can also use a hand mixer and a bowl. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop the softened butter into our mixer. I'm using a spatula for this and we're going to pour in the sugar. So once the butter and sugar are well mixed and they are nice and fluffy, the next thing we're going to add is the eggs. And now this is completely optional and it absolutely is up to you, but I'm also going to add some vanilla. Vanilla does add that extra flavor. If you don't want to add vanilla, you could also add some lemon zest or cardamom, or in fact anything that you personally like. So we're going to add 3 eggs. And if you're looking for a substitute for egg, let us know in the comments. Mix till combined. We do not want to over mix the batter. Now we're going to add in the flour and the baking powder. Again, we want to mix till the flour is completely incorporated. We don't want to overmix. Trick number 1. So the batter that we made is for a half kg cake. Now there are 2 ways in which a lot of bakers can make this cake. One is to split the batter into 2 tins and one is to do it all in one go. You must have read a lot of tips and tricks about how to get the perfect cake, how to not let it fluff up or break or crack, and also not become hard. Now the simplest way of doing it is not to cover it in a towel, wet the towel, put it inside, etc, etc. There's so many ways. Covering it with foil paper, you must have read a ton of these. But the best way to do it is split it into 2 tins. Now if this half kg cake is something that you want to make as a tea sponge, something that you just want to enjoy with tea, then I would suggest using an 8-inch tin. What we're using here is a 6-inch tin, which is why I split my batter into 2 bits. This is the reason why I use 2 tins. So now what will happen is you will get an even bake on the sides as well as the center for that perfect baked cake. So the batter should have a thick consistency, just like this. Now once your batter is ready, we're going to get our tins ready. So what I have done is I have oiled the tins and put some butter paper in it. It's very simple. A round butter paper goes at the bottom, and here, as you can see, I have attached some butter paper also to the edges. Now why I have done this is because I am planning to use some strawberries on the edges to give it that real Victorian sponge feel. But if you don't want to do that and you want to bake it just as it, that is also a great idea. Trick 2. The second trick to the perfect baked cake is, of course, the temperature. Now, a question that is commonly asked is that if my oven differs, what temperature do I use? It's an absolute no-brainer. The temperature remains the same, but based on your oven, the timing definitely changes. So I can't tell you that bake for 10 minutes or 15 minutes because it will change based on whether you're using an OTG oven or a convection oven. If you want to know more about the different kind of ovens, please leave a comment and we'll discuss this more in another video. But for now, the oven I'm using is a convection oven. So therefore, I usually bake it for about 15 minutes. You might need longer based on the oven that you're using. So the temperature remains at 180 degrees Celsius precisely, irrespective of what oven you're using. And the trick here is that you check the center. You poke the center with a toothpick. If the toothpick comes out clean, your cake is baked. Now by clean, I mean that there should be no wet batter. But if there are some crumbs, that's absolutely desirable. Trick number 3. Now the third trick is very simple. If you don't want your cake to crack or rise up very high, the thing that you need to do is just place it on the counter on top of a towel and bang it down slowly a couple of times to release any air bubbles that may exist. It's a very simple trick. Although because this is our foolproof cake, you don't really need to do that. This is usually more applicable for cakes which have a lot of liquid. Here we haven't used any liquid at all, so the baking powder will take time to rise through your cake and create those air bubbles. So what you will get is a really fluffy cake without any cracks, breaks or any unnecessary mounding of the cake. Now if you remember, we placed baking paper around the tray. You don't need to do that if you're not putting strawberries. Strawberries have a tendency to caramelize against the tin and therefore it becomes difficult to peel out the cake, which is why I did that. But otherwise you're good to go with just placing a baking paper at the bottom. This gorgeous Victorian cake can be enjoyed with your tea or you can frost it up. And if you want to know an easy frosting tip with just one nozzle, that's where you click. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click the bell icon.